Yeah, it's already 10 a.m. So we'll get going as soon as I record. And it looks like I'm already recording. So there's a lot of things going on here. I can't tell if I am recording. Yeah, it's recording. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Total Basis Podcast. I'm your host, Felipe Malicio. And with me, substituting for my usual podcast partner, Sean Clownery. No, Sean Connor Flannery. It's Vince Mercandetti. Yes. How you doing, Vince?
Hello. Irish to Italian.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're not having any Irish people here, but we have an Italian and a Mexican. We have the same flag, but different emblems, I guess, in the middle.
This is my revenge for the Untouchables.
So as you guys can tell on my screen, I'm sharing my screen. We're about 2 or maybe 90 seconds away from doing a mock draft. Wow, it was empty a few minutes ago. Now it is filled up with a bunch of strangers, I bet. So I don't know who these people are. But I'm picking 9th. Vince is picking 3rd. Obviously, those are the spots where we're drafting in our upcoming draft. So we're just gonna do a little bit of practice. And I don't know. I've never done this, Vince. You ever do a live draft in podcast form before?
No, I haven't. I'm putting a lot on the line just to let you know, because once this is posted to YouTube, it's fair game for people in my league to see exactly what I'm thinking as we go on.
Oh man,
but that's part of the beauty of it, is that if you're gonna have a really good draft, you have several plans.
Yeah, that's a good point. In my slow draft that I did with Sean for our Baseball Life League, I must have changed like my strategy numerous times throughout the draft, and that's a slow draft. So I can only imagine what's going to happen in this one. So we're on the clock. As you guys can tell, Ronald Acuna seems to be the consensus #1 across all the boards. Mike Trout has been knocked out of the top spot, which angered a lot of angry old-timey baseball fans who are not familiar with fantasy baseball, how it works. But as you guys could tell,
took a lot of offense to that.
But as you guys can tell, Acuna is close to a 40-40 season this upcoming year. So those are his projections. So we'll see where this guy named Kai. I don't know. Kai, is it a guy? Is it a girl? I don't know. But I don't know what's going to happen. You never know with these mock drafters, because a lot of them just horse around and just mess around, or they're just getting ready for their own league. And I wouldn't be surprised if, I don't know, if a Trevor Story gets drafted right here, or if, I don't know, Aroldis Chapman gets drafted here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is probably my 10th mock, and twice Trevor Story has been taken first overall. So you're not far off there.
Yeah.
I think something important. We probably have people listening from all sorts of walks of life, or people watching, who have either never done a draft or have done several. This is a 12-team head-to-head. If there's any first advice I can give to someone who's just getting into fantasy, it's know what your league is.
Yeah.
And know what you're drafting for. So always check the settings and the rules. And as you can see, it's probably a little delayed on Facebook, but in about 1 minute, the draft's actually going to start. You'll probably get to hear all those cool sounds too, because we can't mute. So.
Oh yeah, I didn't realize that. Oh yeah, you can. It's right here. You can mute, but it's probably
on the mount on Yahoo, right?
Yeah, right here on the bottom. I don't know if you guys can see my mouse, but you can mute there. But I think I'm gonna keep it on just so I can keep track, because I'm gonna be doing like a million things at once. So we'll see how I'm gonna do my real life multitasking skills and bringing it to the fantasy baseball realm. And you guys will see it in all the podcast glory right here. I don't know if it said it was just a standard league. I'm not sure if this is a head-to-head or not. Is it a head-to-head, or is it a 5x5 roto league?
Yahoo allows roto or head-to-head. This is just your standard, 5x5 head-to-head league. So We're focusing on runs, home runs, RBIs, stolen bases, batting average on offense, and then I think this is wins based. So wins, ERA, WHIP, saves, and strikeouts. Is that?
Saves, strikeouts, WHIP, ERA, wins. Yep.
In pitching. So I'm coming up next. I should have probably shared my screen first, since I have the first pick.
Yeah. Oops.
But anyway, so for this first pick, I'm out of the 3 spot. It's pretty much an easy selection here. Acuna, Yelich, and Trout goes in some order. In this draft, Acuna went first, Yelich went second, so Mike Trout's my first pick. That's a set and forget, no doubt about it. There's no one really, and you can disagree if you want, Felipe, there's no one really I'd consider in that top 3.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward this year.
Yeah, I think so. And it's outfield, a lot of outfielders. Middle infield is so deep this year. I think actually all the infield positions are deep. And then for outfield, you need 3 of those guys. So I put in for my slow draft, I put an extra emphasis on getting all the good outfielders and not taking any players outside the top 36. So you know what? Something about the home run, like the juice ball, has just like created this depth of hitters. Like I've never seen before. I actually waited a long time to pick my middle infielders and my corner infielders actually, and because there's so many of them. So, but we'll see how this draft goes. I don't have my cheat sheets ready because it's too many things going on at once. So it looks like shortstop is the way to go right now, and it's my turn now. So look at this. This is like too many decisions to be making here. I could go vanilla and go Francisco Lindor, or maybe I'll just go Trevor Story. Yeah, I'll just go Trevor Story because he plays out of Colorado. Let's go shortstop. That's me. So I picked Trevor Story, and then I'll stop sharing my screen, and I think we're gonna go back and forth, right? You could share your screen if you want now.
Yep. So here I go. Yeah, that probably wasn't the right screen to share, huh?
I don't know. I missed it. I don't want to know what it was.
Here we go. Okay. I'm sharing now. You should be able to see that. So, at this point in the draft, it's wrapping back around to me. All drafts are snake drafts. So right now it's 10 picks until my turn. We're so early on, there's not really a lot to think about right now. You're just kind of looking at the ADP. That's how I organize my my docket, if you will. And I'm just waiting to see who the next best available is. Based on how the drafts have been going, it's almost guaranteed to be an infielder of some kind, which is fine.
Yeah.
I've got the outfielder in hand. Outfielders are a dime a dozen as the league goes on. That's what I find is easiest to pick up in free agency as the year goes on, because those, there's 3 of them. So I'm good with an infielder as my second draft pick. I have a quick pick after that, 6 picks later, when it wraps back around, and I have the 3rd overall for the next round. So in my mind right now, I'm kind of monitoring starting pitchers. I've got a weird philosophy with them. They're very injury prone, so I'm not going to go for like the Scherzers and Verlanders of the world, especially given their ages. I'm kind of looking for someone more in their prime that I could really anchor a rotation around. But you don't want to drop too far because you really do need that front end arm that's going to get you 200 plus strikeouts and kind of start penetrating those categories. So right now we're 4 picks away, waiting to see what's happening. I already know I'm not going to take Verlander or Scherzer in this spot. But I'm pretty interested right now. Bregman, as much as I hate him, he's got multi-position eligibility. He's obviously going to put up, really good numbers. Maybe they're not as great as in the past, but a guy who plays the left side of the infield, that's important to me.
Really quick before I forget, Vince, I think I know we were talking about I do the odds and you do the even rounds, but I think we should just do our back-to-back picks since we're fairly close to that wrap.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, just so I'll take the next 2 and then switch it back to you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. That makes sense. So we're 2 picks away now.
Oh, by the way, I picked Jose Ramirez as my second pick, so now my left. I was finishing up by saying my left side of the infield is set.
I was going to say, so you took shortstop and third base.
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so my turn's next. Scherzer's taken. That takes care of one problem. Fernando Tatis, I love. I just, I'm not going to take him. And he got taken anyway, so it's not my problem anymore. So, yeah, this is kind of a weird one. Bregman's usually not available in this spot. You could see his average ADP 17, and we're in the 22nd pick. So this is a steal in my mind as much as a second rounder can be one. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to take Bregman there. That fills either third or short. It's probably going to end up being shortstop, and I'll tell you why in a second. But so now I have 4 picks, so it's a quick turnaround here. I got Glaber sitting here. I'd be perfectly fine with him because then I'd have 2 shortstops, but also I can move Glaber to second. And I've also got Pete Alonso here, who intrigues me this year because that's premium power. He's in a better lineup than usual. And first base is deep, but it's also weird. I don't know if you've experienced that, Felipe. It's very good up front and it's very good in the back, but those middle rounds are kind of strange.
Very strange. I waited till the 5th, till my first baseman was Edwin Encarnacion, and he's ranked number 15. And I also got CJ Cron as his backup because it's the easiest position to fill, I believe, even in fantasy. because I mean, what's there to do? I just need a guy who can hit more than 25 home runs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's one philosophy for sure. Is like the catchers and first basemen of the world. You want to get kind of in that middle there and use your premium picks on shortstop, second base, third base, those types of positions. So now it's my time to draft. I've got my choice. Now, in this case, going based on what Felipe just said, I'm going to pass on Alonso. He's usually there in a lot of picks, but Glaber's almost never there for me. One other thing I'd suggest before I take Glaber here is know your league. I've been drafting with the same guys for a decade. I know Glaber's not going to be there because we've got 5 Yankee fans in that draft. So I might prepare differently depending on what league I'm in. But in this one, I'm taking best available. That's Glaber. So I've taken 2 guys with 2 position eligibilities. Glaber right now set at second, Bregman at third, but they both play shortstop. So I'm pretty happy right now with where I am. We'll toss it back to you.
All right. Let's see. Sharing my screen. I think that's me. Share. Do you believe in life after love? Share. Okay. So it's my turn. I got my queue set up on the top right-hand corner up here. I got a couple of guys. You know, this is the point of the draft where I'm like overwhelmed with choices. Like I like to have my decisions be narrowed down for me, but like I mentioned before, like the hitters are so deep, pitching is so weak. So really, there's no like set thing for me to do here. I mean, there's a lot of good players here. Even Altuve as he ages, and we don't know how he's gonna do with the advantages or disadvantages that he may or may not have. So
Astros are tricky this year.
Very tricky. I mean, I was ready to pick Bregman in my other league, but I think I'm just gonna go with Pete Alonso, and you know, I'm gonna go the
great pick where you are.
And I did the opposite. Where I waited in my slow draft here, I'm just gonna go for it in this draft, and now I still got a plethora of more players. Like I'm overwhelmed by the number of players of good players that are still available here. So so far, first base Pete Alonso. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I noticed you use your queue super early. Is that something you always do?
No,
just stack everyone in there.
I'm just doing it for the podcast.
Just for visual effect.
Visual effect, and to help me because I can't be like sitting around like, oh, I don't know who to pick because you know it looks. I don't know. I'm just trying to make it smooth for the podcast so everybody can see what's going on here. But no, I don't. I think I didn't use it in the slow draft until after the 10th, or maybe I think it was after the 10th round where I started using it. If at the earliest, I think. I honestly don't remember. But no, I usually don't use it this early. Everything's so cut and dry, or it should be cut and dry. It's coming up to me again. I could go with another infielder because I'm missing a second baseman. I think second base is so deep. I might just skip it and start going with a pitcher who I really, really love, and that's Luis Castillo.
Oh man, you and me both.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with Luis Castillo right there on that spot. So that's my first pitcher right there. I'll stop sharing my screen, and Vince, it's your turn to share.
All right, so here we go. So you took the love of my life, Luis Castillo. If anyone obviously who's in baseball life knows, I've kind of adopted the Reds this year as my NL team. So any of the Reds who have any sort of like benefits for fantasy, I'm probably going to be into. Castillo's a really solid pick. I think he's going to get a lot of strikeouts, and there's still a breakout potential. I mean, he's already one of the best starters in the league, but he's also 27. So
I'm a big fan. I've been on that bandwagon for the last 2 seasons. I was actually on the Reds bandwagon last year, but I was a bit too early on that one. But no, I like what they're doing. It's like I was telling Sean on one of these podcasts was the Reds are doing the opposite, where they try rebuilding, and then Joey Votto bitches about how bad the team is. So they went out and did it the old-fashioned way: a trade here, a trade there, acquisition, free agent acquisition here, another one over there, and suddenly they got a very exciting-looking lineup. I don't like their outfield situation, but that should be a fun team to watch this year.
Yeah, for sure. So making my pick here before I run out of time. Fourth round, I'm like Felipe. I've got to get a starter at this point. Now, for me, it comes down to Aaron Nola or Patrick Corbin. The predictions for Patrick Corbin are better than Aaron Nola. The reason I'm taking Nola is that I think that based on last year struggling a little bit, his value is a little bit lower than it should be. And also that I don't trust any Washington National starters this year. not after the way they were used in the playoffs. Corbin used as a reliever, as a starter and stuff. I said the same thing about the Red Sox last year, and look what happened to their rotation. So it's a risk in fantasy to go after the national starters, even though a lot of them are elite. So, I would take Corbin in that spot rather than a huge drop-off after that, maybe to Clevenger, who's not even ready. But I'm not married to it. Here's another tough choice. I know at this point I probably need another hitter. I'm going to reach a little bit and take DJ LeMahieu there. And I'm going to do it again because I love position flexibility. And now I've got 3 guys who play several positions, but no harm at all in taking Keston Hiura, who I think is going to have a breakout year, or Ozzy Albies, who's about as predictable as it gets. All of them play second base, so it's still filling a need for me.
So who was your 4 and 5 guy?
I took Aaron Nola and DJ LeMahieu.
Oh, hey, you got to get out. You got to get out. Are you out? Okay, good.
Yeah, it's all you now.
Jeez,
Just to reiterate, I've got LeMahieu, Torres, and Bregman in my infield, Trout in my outfield, and Nola is my starting pitcher 1.
All right. Well, it's coming up to me. I think I'm due for another pitcher just because outfield has gotten really thin in a hurry, I've noticed. But that's okay. I got all my infielders. I still believe that second base is still a deep position, so I'm not going to worry. I think I'm going to go – I might just go pitcher right here. I mean, you already took Keston Hiura, who I was hoping would come back to me, but that was a pipe dream. So I think I'm going to go pitcher upcoming soon. And, yeah.
I will point out, after I took DJ, Hiura and Albies went immediately after. So yeah, that's called starting a wave.
Yeah, so I'm okay with waiting. So I'm going to go with I'll go with Lucas Giolito because he's younger. So, and then hopefully you, Darvish, is available on the turn as I wait for the other gentleman or gentlewoman to make their selections. If you guys notice my queue, I started stockpiling on the outfielders because I don't have any outfielders yet. So but maybe I should go outfield instead. Yeah, I don't want to wait too long on outfield because outfield is getting super duper weak right now. It just depends who I want out of these 4 guys. With Rosario, I'm sorry, 5 guys: Tommy Pham, Rosario, Gallo, Soler, Castellanos. So yeah, maybe I'm not gonna go pitcher as much as I wanted to, but maybe I'll just go
curious. Are you passing on Judge and Stanton because of the injury concern?
Yeah,
okay.
That's too much. I mean, that goes well for you guys who want to keep them at the top of your queue. What's that?
I said, there goes Judge.
Yeah, so not for me, man. I'm sorry. I don't want to deal with that. Plus, if I get Tommy Pham, which I think that's what I'm going to target right now, the stolen bases are there. I know that there's an injury concern here too, but I like the stolen base potential at this point. I'm not big on steals usually. I just get the best player available in my mind. What encompasses an all-around good player, that's why I draft. I know like there's people that, this guy's gonna steal 30 bases. I'm gonna go for the guy who steals 40 bases. That's not how my mind works. I literally just try to get the best player available. I just know that Tommy Pham is good for 20 stolen bases every year, and the 20 home runs is a good combination to have. So I think I'm gonna go with that. As opposed to Joey Gallo, who's all power, Rosario's all power, Soler's all power, Castellanos is all doubles and power. And so I think I'm good with Tommy Pham if it gets to me. As you guys can tell, it's also they're taking their sweet time at this point. So they're using all the clock right now because this is the point of the draft where like, oh shit, all the good players are gone. Now we're getting to that next level of baseball players, right? We're like, oh, who are these guys? You know, we're getting to that border.
The leader gone, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna go with Tommy Pham. I'm comfortable there, and my outfield position is on the board right there. So Vince, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and send it back to you.
All right, so you've got your 2 starters there. Again, I think that is probably a wise move at this point. I'm going to be looking for kind of the same thing. I'm in round 6. I've got round 6 and 7 almost interchangeable to me. I'm targeting Noah right here, right off the bat. I'm going to put him in my queue there. That's a starter. Him and Glasnow are guys at this point in the draft where I'm pretty interested if one of them's there, and now I'm guaranteed one of them, and now I am definitely guaranteed both of them. So at this point, it's a choice. It's Noah or Glasnow. Glasnow was hurt a little bit last year, probably not as built up. I think that's why you're seeing 147 innings being predicted. Strikeouts, obviously. Look, Noah struggled last year. He might struggle again this year in terms of ERA and maybe WHIP, but he's going to get you 200-plus strikeouts. And if I can control anything about a pitcher, I want the strikeouts because ERA and WHIP can always change. But strikeouts are what they are. Like a guy's K through 9 doesn't change wildly year to year. They kind of are what they are. So now I've got Noah and I've got Nola at the top of my rotation. Now I'm going to look to go back to offense here. Not interested in closers yet, even though Yates and Chapman are both at the top here. There's so many closers and they're so easy to be kicked out of their spot that I just don't worry about them in really the first like 8 or 9 rounds of the draft. So at this point, take Glasnow back out of my queue. I'm not going to go back to back here on starters, but I am going to kind of look, and it's tough to do because I've got the screen right here. I have, you always have a utility spot. In this one, there's 2 of them, which is actually how my league's based as well. So I'm not afraid to take anyone at any position right now. And being the secondary Reds fan that I am, I'm going to reach a little bit, and I'm going to go for Suarez. And the reason I'm going to do it is because this guy is predicted for 36 home runs, but he's a 40 home run corner infield threat. And he's in the middle of an improving lineup. So for me, I'm taking Suarez. He's going to add me some depth. And now I've got another guy who can play third, which frees Bregman up to play shortstop if I need him to. So I'm very deep at shortstop and I'm very deep at third. And it's back to you now, so you can re-enter.
Meanwhile, I'm trying to figure out what my next pick should be. As always, I think I just saw Matt Olson go away. So, and that's one of my weaknesses is trying to figure out when do I fill out my utility spot, because I'm so anal about, oh no, all these other positions have to be filled out first, which is a really backwards way of looking at it. But
take that best available. Someone's getting hurt.
Yeah, right. So I'm just going to take a look at the starting pitchers. They're not – man, I should probably take a starting pitcher right now, but I don't want to lose out. I don't want to get any more weak at the outfield. I like Jorge Soler. I've been picking him in all my mock drafts. So I'm going to go with Jorge Soler. So there's my power bat. And now I wait. So that means I don't need Castellanos Gallos. I might go with Moustakas, who some people like him. Other people don't like him. I've been a big fan of Moustakas this whole time, ever since he signed with the Reds. I know Tommy Edmonds there available as well to shore up my stolen bases, but again, that's not how I work. That's not how my mind works. The pitchers available are Tyler Glasnow, Trevor Bauer, Brandon Woodruff, and Jose Barrios. I'm not sure. I don't know if I want any of those guys, but I don't want to miss out on Moustakas because, like I said, I've been targeting him in all my drafts to be my second baseman, and he's multiple eligible at third base as well. So if all goes to plan, I'm going to go with Mike Moustakas, who is supposed to have a monster year this year in Cincinnati. 30-plus home runs. Was that?
I said not a bad pick.
No,
man.
No
problem with Moose.
Like I said, second base is just deep this year, like ridiculously deep, and so is third base. Third base is even deeper than that, but I already got my third baseman. So, and Jose Ramirez, who's supposed to be when he's healthy and he's going out firing out on all cylinders. He's one of the best all-around players. So my infield looks strong right now. Pitching, I'm gonna have to really dig deep on the pitchers. So there's my time there. I'm going to just go ahead and draft Moustakas, not even going to waste any time. And now my infield set. I still need an outfielder. Those 2 utility spots are still missing. And I got my 2 pitchers there. I forgot that I did select 2 pitchers. So I'm not as weak as I thought I was at starting pitching. Go ahead, Vince. It's your turn.
You're okay. You got your 2 anchors. So I got 5 picks now. This is where I'm going to start to put in my queue again. I can move this. There you go. So you can see, I've got some starters I'm interested in here. I like their value here. Bell, I think, is always criminally underrated. And now my queue is getting smaller. So at this point, I can look, I've got all of my infield covered because now Bregman could be a shortstop. I could put Suarez as my starting third baseman. I've got my 2 starters. These are kind of specialty rounds to me. The reason I say that is that I love Yasmani Grandal right here. He's not the only catcher I would take. And he's certainly not the only catcher that I would take in these 2 rounds, but I'm going to go ahead and secure him because I feel pretty good about everything that's on the board at my other positions. So now I've got my catcher too, and that's an elite catcher. So in my mind, the way that I'm drafting, every single infielder I have is elite one way or another at their positions. Grandal plays first. Not that I'm necessarily going to draft a second catcher, but we'll kind of see how those really late rounds go. And now, it's not going to hurt me if I get another first baseman, so I could free up DJ to be the utility man that he is. But I'm in a really good spot. And I've got Bell here, who I'd be perfectly happy with as well. But the other thing too is I've only got 2 starters. That makes me panic a little bit. At this point in the draft, I'm usually going back and forth as far as starters go. I'm taking starter and then I'm taking a position player. But you also kind of have to do what the draft gives you.
Yeah.
Now, in this case, there's 2 guys here. One is Sonny Gray, who I hate, but he would be a very solid 3 starter in fantasy. The other is Denelson Lamet, who I've been on his bandwagon for 2 years now. This is the 3rd year. So, I liked him before. It was cool. This dude, again, look at the strikeouts. You're getting him in the 9th round. He's going to get you as many strikeouts as Noah Syndergaard, who took in the 6th round, as many strikeouts as you took in the 4th round with Castillo, and as many as I took as well. That is a steal. And he's going here, the 156 innings. Yeah, he hasn't had a fully healthy season yet. You can see the 73 from last year. But now that my other pick, Bell, got taken, I'm taking Lamet there, as long as my computer allows me to. And now I've at least got 3 starters. So I didn't take Bell, who I kind of had my heart set on as value, but I did take another starter who I'm very happy with from a strikeout standpoint.
All right. Now my situation. This is the part where I'm like, all right, now what do I do? I mean, like I said,
now it gets tricky.
It gets very tricky, and again, there's a lot of players left for some people who like. For some people, it's like, oh man, who are these guys? But for me, it's like, man, there's still too many good players out there, and I don't know where to go. I mean, I could fill out my last outfield position. I could go after catcher, like Vince was talking about, or fill out my utility spots. I can also shore up the rest of my pitching staff. But as you can tell, I got Roberto Osuna at the top of my queue up here. Because I'm not really digging these starting pitchers who are available. I do need 2 relief pitchers. I think Osuna is a relatively safe choice at this point. So I think I'm going to get the saves here if I'm lucky enough and go with Osuna. Outfielder, nothing really catches my eye at outfield right now. Rhys Hoskins, I was thinking of putting them at my utility spot, but he doesn't wow me. Correa, I just keep thinking about his back problems. Unlike you, I actually like Sonny Gray this year, but I don't need him right now. So I'm going to just go for it. I'm going to draft Roberto Osuna, and now I got my saves. There's other, as you guys can see, I have the relief pitchers up. There's Edwin Diaz, Brad Hand, Liam Hendricks, Jesus Luzardo. Qualifies as a relief pitcher for some reason. But
yeah, I think he finished last year as one.
Yeah, I think that's what happened. But I don't like any of those relief pitchers at all. At least not worth drafting here. I mean, and these other guys that I have on my queue, they're not really wowing me. So I might as well just go after – well, I was thinking of going after the best catcher in the league, but he's already gone as I was talking about him. So that ain't going to happen. Tommy Edman is ranked pretty high here because he's projected to steal a bunch of bases. Like I said, I don't normally do that. But as far as middle infielders go, he is the next player available. He's
got 3 positions, too. You can't hate on that at this point.
Gotta love it. And he's going to play more positions. He's going to play shortstop. He's going to play outfield somewhere. Oh, this doesn't split the outfields like my leagues. But, yeah, I mean, you got to love the flexibility that he offers. I'm just going to do one more sweep. Oscar Mercado is a nice power speed combo, but I'm not too sure about him. Franmil Reyes, I know what he's about. The 34 home runs look nice. But, yeah, I think I'm going to go for the versatility that Tommy Edman and hope for the best. And there's my pick. So
there you go.
Tommy Edman as my he's my 3rd outfielder. Okay, that works out. I needed to fill that spot anyway. So there you go. Over to you, Vince.
He's a guy you're going to move around a lot. I like that pick over Mercado. I've got Mercado in my Dynasty League. I like him a lot as a fantasy player, but if I'm stuck with those 2 as my choice and I want some stolen bases, I'm taking the guy who plays 3 positions in the better lineup. So that's Edman. So I think you made the right choice there. Yeah. So now, as you can see, my queue gets crazier and crazier now as the draft goes on. Now it's starting to get pretty full. I've got some starters I might be considering. I've got some closers I might be considering. I don't have a reliever yet. And then I've got some kind of one-offs. Now, someone, as I'm looking through here, took my man crush in Trey Mancini. That's the guy who plays first in outfield. It's like my dream at this point in the draft. If I didn't get Josh Bell and if I didn't take Pete Alonso. But he's gone. So now I've got to pivot here. it's looking like, just based on the queue, and you can look over here if it's less confusing, I've already taken my catcher. Otherwise, Wilson Contreras, great value at that spot. I like him a lot. I've got Rhys Hoskins here, who's like Josh Bell light. The 235, which I think is probably accurate, kind of scares me a little bit. I don't love that to bring down my batting average across the board. So for now, I'm going to kind of let it ride a little bit. I'm going to take Liam Hendriks, who didn't have an awful year like Diaz last year. He's on the A's, who play in a lot of close games. I think that's a great source of saves for anyone at this point in the draft. So that's who I'm taking here. And now I've got the quick wraparound pick. Got a lot of starters I'm considering. Hoskins is still out there. If Hoskins goes, I'm almost definitely taking a starter at this spot. If Hoskins doesn't go, I have a decision to make. So we've got one pick now to figure it out. I'm feeling comfortable. I've got one closer under my belt. I probably don't need another one, in all honesty, for like another 6 rounds, just based on how many closers there are.
That's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah, and just based on the fact that one of them's probably going to get demoted anyway, and saves is only one category. So unless you're going to stack with like 4 closers on your team and start really contributing towards Ks every week, it's, closers are tricky. It's a tricky business. So I've got Hoskins here. I've got Hendricks, Fried, and Lynn. Now I have to make a quick decision with the clock going. Now my screen, of course, just went dead. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Rhys Hoskins here. Did I make it? Yes. Okay. So now I've really shored up my entire infield. DJ can play anywhere. Torres can play anywhere. Bregman can play anywhere because I've got Suarez and I've got Hoskins. I'm feeling pretty good about that. Trying to get you the screen, I promise. There we go. So now it's going back to you. But I'm like now a starting pitcher, probably a definite in round 12 for me.
So I still there's a lot of good players out there. I do have utility spots. I'm not worried about catcher right now. At this point, as you guys I'm going to show you who the catchers are available. I mean, I usually been drafting Salvador Perez, but at this point, they're pretty much the same player at this point. Like Carson Perez or Christian Ramos or Mitch Narvaez. Sorry, butchering names here. But so I got Mercado and Reyes, who I wanted to draft I was thinking of drafting in my last turn. They're still available. I got Jesus Luzardo, who's still available. I got Ken Giles, who is another relief pitcher that I like. And you know what? I'm going to go with Ken Giles. That I got my 2 relievers. These other guys, they just aren't doing anything for me to, draft them right there in this spot. So I'm just going to go with Ken Giles, who I really, really love. So, I got the trade for Osuna and Giles. They're now on my team. So that's pretty cool. Now I have
awesome.
I have a really tough decision to make, though. I can shore up my utility spots, or there's Jesus Luzardo just calling me, like he's just calling me. You want me. You want me. Like, yes, but this is not a keeper league, and you're gonna be on an innings limit. I know you are. And he still calls me like a siren, right? Like, you want to, Felipe, just do it. So I have a tough decision. I also love Franmil Reyes. There's so many good players. Like, my decision was just made for me. Somebody just took Luzardo. So if that's the case, then my guy, Franmil Reyes, who I named my other fantasy league after, Franmil Reyes Muertes, I'm going to go ahead and pick him if I'm lucky here. Otherwise, I'm screwed because I don't like any of these guys on my queue. Brantley, Kepler, Dahl, Polanco. Those are not the guys I want at this spot. So I'm hoping that whoever this DL guy is doesn't pick him, and he didn't.
There you go. You're good.
So sometimes the best strategy is you just let other people make the decision for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. So it's you can go ahead and take over.
Yeah, Franny was on my championship team last year. I think I got him in like the 17th round. He ends up hitting 30-something home runs. It was great steal. So nothing but respect for him. 4 picks until my pick now. As you can see, my queue is loaded with the starters I want. I know I'm going to get one of them unless something crazy happens here and all 4 go next. Actually, I have 5, so I'm good one way or another. Also putting Danny Santana in here. Late source of, he's going to get you some stolen bases. You can see by my team, I don't really dedicate positions to stolen bases unless I absolutely have to. But, DJ will steal a few. Torres will steal a few. Bregman's going to steal, a dozen. Trout's going to steal me a little bit. So they're sprinkled in. It's not strong, but I don't like building my teams around speed. It's a one-category thing. I can get runs and RBIs with home runs. I don't need to rely on guys who steal bases. So it's kind of like the ERA of hitting to me. Like I'm not going to revolve my draft around it because it can change at any time. So here's my starters, and this is really what I'm deciding at this point. Now, again, I can let it fly, so I'm a liar. I'm not going to take a starter here. None of my mocks did I not have my fourth starter by the 12th round. I'm taking Danny Santana here for the stolen bases, for the position flexibility, for the power, for the lineup. All of those reasons. He plays everything. I have unlimited depth now with my offense because everyone plays everywhere, and it just worked out. I didn't really reach for any of those guys. And I know I've got the starters that I like here. Here's 5 of them, and I know I'm going to get one with my next pick. So taking Santana up front, kind of like you said, Felipe, sometimes you just have to let other people do your bidding for you.
Yeah.
I know, though, I'm taking a starter. Nothing's going to sway me. I don't need really any infielders for a little bit here. I definitely want a starter with this pick, and I'll probably take a starter in the next round, although, as I just said, I tend to be a liar when it comes to fantasy. The draft kind of decides what you're going to do sometimes. So now
I was going to say, by the way, we're halfway through the draft already, so.
Yeah, this is a quick one.
Yeah, it's
so
only 30 seconds between picks, I believe.
Now I'm looking here. I've got Price, I've got Fried, I've got Boyd, I've got Ray, and I've got Manaea. Manaea I'm probably going to ignore just because he hasn't had like a fully healthy season. Fried I like. He's about a K an inning. Price, age, a little bit of a concern. He's usually kind of durable. A new setting might do better in the NL, but, there's enough question marks there. For me, going with my theme, and this is one thing I suggest for a lot of fantasy users, have a theme for how you're trying to draft your offense and how you're trying to draft your pitching. Let them all fit the same category and go to war with that category, whether it's a lot of closers, whether it's a lot of strikeouts, whether it's low ERAs, whatever you're going to do, low whip, which I did one year. So for me, it's between Boyd and Ray.
War is a fake stat, by the way.
Ray and Boyd. Look, Ray's in the NL. That's great. It's kind of a hitter's park, though. Boyd had a really bad second half last year. He's on a really shitty team. I'm going to go with Robbie Ray. I kind of like the upside more there. I had Boyd last year, and I drafted him because of things I heard in spring training, and it worked out for me. But and I traded him before he became shitty and got DJ LeMahieu out of it. So that's this time I'm going with Ray. Back to you.
All righty. As you guys can tell, I got 2 catchers on my top spot based on this ranking over here for Carson Kelly, number 244. Some people would say, oh, well, you can't draft them there. You can't draft them there. But I don't know, man. Sometimes you just got to pick the guy you like. But I also like Perez. So as you can see, the next 2 guys sandwiched between those guys is Will Smith and Wilson Ramos. So Carson Kelly's like my last, Custer's last stand, so to speak. If Carson Kelly's like the last catcher available, I'd be okay with that. But I know that if he's the only catcher available, I'm sure other people are looking at the same thing, like, oh, I better get him now. So, but as you can tell, it's going to be my turn soon. No one's picking a catcher, so I think I'm going to hold off just a little longer and hope that somebody makes that decision for me. Matthew Voigt's available. I was thinking about drafting him. And Vince says that he's not a fan because he had a bad second half. Hector Neris, who is a guy I like, but I already got 2 relievers. But there's no harm in having one of your relief pitchers be one of your pitching slots be a relief pitcher. Shohei Ohtani's available as the pitcher as well, but I don't know. He's coming back from Tommy John surgery, so I'm just gonna go with Hector Neris. I like him a lot, and I have the market corner. I got the corner market or the market corner on the saves at this point with Osuna, Giles, and Neris. As these starting pitchers are just not doing anything for me right now. In my queue, I noticed that it's getting super thin. I like Miguel Sano to fill out my last utility spot right here. The guy's, he reminds me of Pedro Serrano from Major League. So, and he qualifies at first base too. So, but wait a minute. I just saw that Salvador Perez got drafted. Oh, what do I do here?
There goes your catcher.
Yeah. I mean, I still got Kelly, but, oh, boy. And as you guys can tell, Ramos is still available. So is Carson Kelly. But I would pick Carson Kelly above Ramos. Boy, if I miss out on Kelly right now, it just becomes a death valley of catchers over here. Really bad in a hurry.
Big drop-off.
Big drop-off. And let's see, how does utility spot look? Because I really like Sano, but I still got Buxton. Good power, decent power speed, horrible batting average. I'll put Ohtani's as a batter as well. which is weird. But yeah, even utility spot is weak as hell. But catcher is the weakest of all the weakest of the hitting positions. So take a leap of faith on Carson Kelly like I've been doing this whole time. And now he's my catcher. And I'm set. Catcher, all my middle infield spots are ready. The only spot I have for hitters that I need to cover is the utility spot. So I think I might just concentrate on pitchers for the rest of this draft, and we'll go from there. Hopefully Sano's available in the next round. I doubt it, though, but we'll see what happens.
That's the first relief, right? All the heavy lifting's done on your end. I don't have the luxury. I still need another closer. I like having an actual rotation of 5 starters that I like. Now, I'm pretty good on offense over here. And don't let the little chart fool you. Danny Santana would be probably primarily used as an outfielder, although ideally we want to get some actual outfielders. So here's my cue. There's a few guys I like. Now, at this point, the ADP is not nearly as important as it was 10 rounds ago. Now you're taking guys who are specific to your team, who are going to help them a lot. ADP is not really a huge thing. Go with guys that you like for whatever reason. There's 2 guys I really like out of this list. One is Jose Leclerc, who I think is way too low. That's a guy who gets a ton of strikeouts as a closer. Look, these numbers are what they are. He's young. He's got room to improve. Texas could be better this year. I'm going to take him right there as my second closer. Not even wait on it. Now, the other guy I really like is Hunter Dozier. Why? You guessed it. Plays 3 different positions. Probably won't even need him for the infield, but he plays outfield. And here's a guy who hits, he's going to hit mid-20 home runs. Did it last year. They're predicting the same thing this year. Won't kill you with the batting average. Kyle Schwarber was another guy I had my eye on, but he got taken a few picks ago. Mm-hmm. So I like Dozier in that spot. His ADP is 188. I'd be taking him at 172, but by the time it wrapped back around to me, I'm right in that 188 area. It's just a matter of whether you want to risk it. Now, I don't need Robles because I took my second closer. I usually don't even take 3 closers in a draft. So really it's between these 4 guys. I'm going to let it ride a little bit. Usually my starting pitching is deeper than this. Actually, you know what? I'm going to pivot here. Jake Odorizzi is really solid. He's in what usually is a pitcher's park, and he doesn't have the innings issue that Urias has, even though I think Urias is a better pitcher. I'm taking Odorizzi there. Again, I tend to lie when it's draft time. Really love Hunter Dozier if he's still there. We'll see if he is. Otherwise, I'll have to look at what's available. But now I've at least got my 5 starters.
Oh, man. Well, Miguel Sano just got taken from me not too long ago. I was really hoping. I know that's pipe stream. Like, when you're hoping, it never works out that way. But it was.
Yeah, if someone's reading your mind in fantasy drafts at all times.
Either way, I'm screwed, right? Because if I would have gone Sano, then I'm really weak at catcher, and you don't want to be weak at catcher because it's Death Valley. There's nobody on the horizon, nobody at the. I don't believe in any of those guys.
Prospects usually don't pan out immediately.
Exactly. So. But now I have 1 utility spot left, but there's a lot of good pitchers that I like here. German Marquez, or I'm sorry, I should Spanishize it. It's German Marquez. He's still available. I don't really like the prospects of getting German Marquez at this spot, but he has really good stuff, and it seems like when he pitches away from course, he could be a very devastating pitcher to have on your team. A very beneficial pitcher to have on your team, I should say, not devastating. Devastating for other teams that he's facing. So I'm going to take a leap of faith. I'm going to go with Marquez right now. So that is my 3rd starting pitcher. And this is the utility rankings. It's weak. It got weak in a hurry. I don't know if I want to draft any of these guys at the moment. So I think I'm going to just go pitcher right now. I like Jose Urquidy. From the Houston Astros. He's been just shooting up the rankings lately, and he's 24 years old. He's coming back from Tommy John surgery, but he had a good performance late last year. And besides, he's probably the safest pick to make compared to guys like Luke Weaver, Mike Foltynewicz, Joe Musgrove, Caleb Smith. Like, this is like mid-rotation hell right now. As like I said, we're getting to this point of the draft where everything's just getting thin. Every position's getting weaker. So hopefully everybody got their picks in that they wanted in the first half of the draft, because now it's just about being shrewd and just digging for those fantasy prospects, not actual minor league prospects, but those deep sleepers, those guys that no one's even thinking about right now. So I may just after this, I'm gonna clear my queue and start from scratch, and I'm gonna just go dig deep into these rankings and see who I can find with a little bit of upside on my end, and go from there. And thankfully, nobody drafted Jose Urquidy, so I'm gonna draft Jose Urquidy, and that is my 4th starting pitcher. I still got one more pitching slot to go. I'm happy with my team the way it is after 16 rounds. So yeah, I like the way my team's shaping up to be. I stopped sharing my screen so you could take over. So yeah, I don't have a problem with it. There's some spots where I wish I could have done better, but overall, I can't complain too much the way my team's being structured right now.
Here's another lesson for fantasy, and I've been playing for 20 years, so take it from me. Always trust your gut. I passed on I passed on Dozier earlier, mainly because I felt like there was probably going to be outfielders I liked later on. There maybe was not going to be a Jake Odorizzi later on, and it paid off for me because now in my queue I've still got Chris Davis out there. One bad year, everyone gave up on him. Now he's a little bit of a batting average killer, but he's also a guy who's going to hit 30-plus home runs in a pretty good underrated lineup. I got Garrett Hampson here, plays multiple positions, which I love, and he's a stolen base guy. And I think he's going to have a better year than he did last year, and he's in Colorado, so who knows where that power is. Brandon Lau was fantastic until he got hurt. Alex Verdugo is hurt, but he's going to be in that Boston lineup hitting in Fenway Park instead of LA. And you got JD Davis. I think a lot of people forget about some Mets players from time to time. That's a guy I'm fine with having an outfielder, and he gets you the third base just as a bonus. But in this case, I'm going to take a little bit of a risk here. I'm going to take Chris Davis. I don't think he's completely finished, even though he's 32 years old. That guy's going to hit 30-something home runs, and he's my second outfielder with Mike Trout. I've got enough guys here with Grandal out of catcher, high average as far as catchers go. DJ LeMahieu, I've got Glaber, I've got Bregman. I've got a lot of guys who hit for average. Trout. So having a guy like Chris Davis, Suarez won't embarrass you. Hoskins and Davis a little bit low on the batting average, but they might give me 70 home runs. And I took them pretty late. So you kind of take those trade-offs. I don't think I'm going to get murdered. It's not like there's a bunch of guys with 300 batters in their lineup up and down in fantasy. So now here's my other pick. It's going to be another pick based on kind of need. So quick glance in here, see if there's any starters I really like. I love Dustin May, by the way, but not this year. I don't think he's built up quite yet.
Yeah. Not even in keeper leagues? You wouldn't take chance. Not even in keeper leagues, you wouldn't take a chance on Dustin May.
Love him in keepers, yeah. This is solely for just this year.
Yeah.
I don't like Dustin May, but I think he's going to be a great pitcher. I took Garrett Hampson. Why? I went extreme with Chris Davis. Now I'm going to the other extreme with speed with Hampson. You don't need to draft your team around speed because there's guys like Garrett Hampson late in the draft who you can pick up who really might just give you 25 stolen bases. And in this day and age, that's a burner.
Oh, it's my turn.
Yeah, back to you. We're going real quick for the late rounds.
I'm just listening to you, and I'm also setting my queue for this upcoming. And I'm like, wow. I just realized I still have a utility spot I haven't filled out yet, but I also was hoping I could concentrate on pitchers, but I guess I can't at the moment. Vince mentioned J.D. Davis. I did find him, as you could tell, ranked 227. I like him a lot. I just don't know if he's playing every day. I know Brian Reynolds might be playing every day. I think he's a nice, well-balanced player to have on your team. Safe pick, safe floor. As ridiculous as that sounds coming from the Pittsburgh Pirates player. So, but I mean, this batting average, I think that's duplicitous for this year. So I'm gonna go with that. Man, I really like J.D. Davis though. But man, the Mets, I don't know what the hell they're doing. They got a lot of – first of all, they got a lot of good players on that team.
That's what everyone always feels about the Mets. That's why they never get drafted where they should in fantasy.
Yeah. And like I said, though, but they do have depth. So if J.D. Davis falters, they have plenty of guys who can come in, like a Jeff McNeil who could take over third base. And now maybe Dominic Smith gets a lot of playing time in the outfield. But I'm like you. I really, really like them. Either that or I go with Dylan Bundy, who also I've been liking. To give me some pitching depth. That's I kind of do need it, but this is this is the part of the draft where you concentrate on depth. Oh, and I still have a pitching spot that I need to fill out anyway. So I got a tough decision to make between these two. If I don't get Davis though, as you can tell, I got Chu, I got Voit, I got DeYoung, and I got Encarnacion. But if I don't go with Bundy here, John Gray is like my next available player. Let me see if I rank these. Then Luke Casey, who I don't like, Stroman, well, yeah, AJ Pook, he's just a prospect that I shouldn't be trusting too much here. You just mentioned Dustin May. Miles Mikolas is hurt. So I'm going to go with Dylan Bundy, as he has become a safer choice this year, as strange as that sounds. So I'm going to go with Dylan Bundy and hope that J.D. Davis doesn't get drafted in the next round. And is that my turn, or do I have – no, that's your turn now, right?
Yeah, we're over to me. So I immediately have a regret I didn't realize, and this goes against what I said earlier, which is kind of know your league and everything. I took Chris Davis, and he does not have outfield eligibility, which I didn't realize.
Oops.
So,
which is weird because Yahoo is they're so lax on their eligibility rules.
Yeah, it's like 5. I think you have to appear in 5 games, not even start 5 games.
Yeah.
So I would not have taken Chris Davis with that pick. Despite what I said about the power, I think he's a fine option, but I have plenty of guys I can plug into util. I would have taken someone like J.D. Davis, who's still out there. So let's just pretend I took J.D. Davis there and he's an outfielder. Doesn't change. Verdugo would have been a fine choice too. So when I was debating between those guys, I'd take the guy who actually has an outfield eligibility. So that's my mistake, but good thing it's a mock draft, right? If I was going to take a guy who is just util, I would take a shot on Andrew Har, who's in a better lineup. The dude just smokes the baseball. He's going to give you a good batting average too. So that's my lesson there with util. But right now I'm feeling like I'm going to start reaching for some stuff at this point in the draft. You're not going to win a fantasy draft based on your 18th and 19th round pick, but you certainly can help your odds. I'm going to take Michael Kopech here, who had Tommy John at the end of 2018. Mm-hmm. It's been over a year and a half at this point. His velocity is said to be great in spring training. He's probably not going to start opening, he's not going to be in a rotation opening day, but that's a guy, as you go through a fantasy season, you need starter after starter after starter. You're not going to get by with your first 6 or 7. So that's a guy I'm going to kind of stash a little bit. If you have one of those NA spots, that's probably a place you can put him, because I doubt he'll be on the major league roster. Same with Joe Adell, same with Nate Pearson. 2 guys who are top prospects who are probably going to get called up sooner rather than later. Those are guys you can put in your NA. I'll only keep it with Kopech right now. But that Kopech's a guy who has front-end stuff. He was great in his brief call-up in 2018 before the Tommy John. I've got no problems there. But I do need a starter who's probably going to start opening day. I'm a big J Happ guy this year. And this is a reach. I'll be the first one to admit it. But only by like 12 picks. Reason being, Matt Blake, new pitching coach, not Larry Rothschild. That's huge for me, for a guy like Happ who needs to kind of rely on some more advanced analytics at this point in his career. And I'm a big believer in Happ. He fixed a lot of his mechanics in the winter, so that's just a Yankee camp tip for you. I'll take him as my 6th or 7th starter.
All right. I like that. I like that a lot. Happ is a nice, safe choice this year. I like him. He might be too safe, though.
Right. He's completely boring.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing exciting about him,
exactly.
But he's a guy who could help you.
Like, I have not drafted him in any of my mock drafts for some reason. Because this is like you mentioned before, this is the point where you have to reach for guys. And it's my turn now. Like I said, you have to reach for guys with some upside. And Happ is just, at this point of the draft, he's so safe that he's kind of vanilla and bland.
Yeah.
But like you mentioned, that stability this late in the draft is – I mean, the Yankees are going to post a lot of runs. He's going to get their run support. And he's – like you said, he's fixing a bunch of stuff that was wrong with him last year. He's fixing it this spring. So that's good intel to have. Luckily for me, I got J.D. Davis. I'm not even going to hesitate. I'm just going to draft him right now. I like him a lot. He's in my bench spot, so he's not even starting for me at this point. But you know what? That's all you need, man. That is all you need. Just keep him on my bench, and let's see what happens with the Mets this year. As you guys can see from my queue, I got some guys. I got some old heads out here like Chu, Voigt, and Encarnacion. The pitchers are getting riskier and riskier with John Gray, Chris Archer. Like, I don't know. I did put Dustin May in my queue because I do like him. And this is a league where I can either put him at a pitching spot or a relief pitching spot. And maybe I get some cheap whip and ERA rate stats out of him. Because I do like him a lot this year. But look at all these old heads. Cano, Cabrera, Peralta, who's 32 years old. Yeah, so there's a lot of, DH-type players at this point. Pitcher is just completely weak at this rate. I mean, you got the left-handed trio of Hamels and Dallas Keuchel. And I think I saw Quintana. There's Quintana. So anytime I'm at this spot where it's Keuchel, Hamels, and Quintana, I know I'm in big trouble. So I know I'm in deep trouble. But, oh, boy. I already got a Rockies player. I got no one else on my queue that I like. I'm looking at the pitching stats right now at the no, Alcantara. Alcantara is still there. But I'm gonna take a leap of faith. Gotta go draft Dustin May against Vince's recommendations. I like him a lot. I think
it's only usage. It's only his usage.
I'm sorry. What was that last part?
I said it's only his usage. He'll give you
Oh,
good
yeah.
numbers. It's just he's not going to throw a full season. He might not even throw half a season.
Yeah, and I agree with that. But I mean, you saw that list. It's crap. And
No, I don't fault you at all for taking May in that spot.
It is. Yeah, this is a lot. It got weaker a lot faster than I had imagined it. So
yeah. Starting pitching something you don't want to sit on that much this year. Like those first 15 rounds, it's everyone you're probably going to want. Save the position players for this late in the draft because you're going to swap them out 50 times throughout the year anyway, 75 times. So, from my standpoint, I've got some guys who are interesting here. Hunter Renfroe is a 35 home run guy this late in the draft on the Rays, who have an underrated lineup to me this year. That's the guy I'm keeping my eye on. Nick Senzel, former top prospect, still out there in a good lineup. He'll steal you a few bases. Nothing else really sexy about him, but he won't kill you in anything either. Might be hitting at the top of that lineup either opening day or the end of the year. And I kind of need an outfielder. So I'm looking at those things. Here's some I'm going to remove only because I already have my NA guy theoretically. So it's really between these picks. And Duhar might be the most productive out of everyone, but again, it's a USIL spot. I can't put him anywhere, although he's going to gain position eligibility throughout the year. So this is a very sneaky pick that I'm going to make here. Again, my draft, he'll be taking 100 picks earlier because it's Yankee fans. But in this one, he's still out there. Keep this in mind about Miguel Andujar. He's probably going to be an outfield first base eligible, maybe even third base eligible by the end of the year. If you saw those stats with 3 different positions, it's a whole different ballgame as far as his value goes. So I'm taking Andujar there. Again, we're using a little bit of imagination that I don't have Chris Davis on my team. I have Felipe J.D. Davis instead in my outfield spot. So, we're suspending belief a little bit here. Now it's back to my pick. I want one more starter, and I've got the choice between the 2 most boring pitchers in the history of the world. You have the whistleblower Mike Fiers here. Guy stays healthy every year. I'll give him that. Not a big strikeout guy. Or you have Dallas Keuchel. I'm going to go with Fiers. This is solely because he pitches in Oakland. That's it.
Yeah, Oakland is very pitcher friendly every single season. It's such a cavernous ballpark over there.
Yeah, give you solid stats.
So yeah, that's not a bad pick. I'm trying to redo my queue here because it was just loaded with a bunch of old players. Like I said, I got Cano and Cabrera. I don't need that on my team this year. But yeah, pitching is so weak this year at this stage of the draft. But it's also a Yahoo thing. My rankings do not look like this, but I'm not using my cheat sheets this year. No, I'm sorry, I'm not using my cheat sheets for this experiment. But yeah, I'm just kind of looking down. I thought I saw. Oh yeah, Casey Mize. I might throw a flyer at him, just because. I like Justice Sheffield. I need him to show me something.
You, man. Someone asked you.
He needs to show me. But you just look at him like, boy, oh boy, if he just puts his shit together, he could be something special. But again, Seattle seems to not know how to do baseball anymore. I don't know. But I'm gonna go with Dylan Cease. This is the type. This is the run. So this is back-to-back prospects, right? I got Dustin May in the last round. This is another prospect who I believe in Dylan Cease. People are sleeping on him. So I'm going to go for it.
And they may combine to give you one good starter. So it's not the worst strategy.
That is some Moneyball shit right there. I just realized we're about 2 rounds away from finishing up this draft. So I might just go another pitcher just because that seems to be the thing to do right now. But yeah, it's like I've been talking to you, man. It's like, it's a lot of relief pitchers out there who I guess they're good if you're kind of projecting that they could snipe the closer's spot from someone. Matter of fact, I have a perfect player for that. All right, I got you, man. I got you. There's my guy, Ryan Stanek. So yeah, there's no way people are gonna draft this guy. They're like, who the fuck is Ryan Stanek? Oops, who the hell's Ryan Stanek? They're gonna say. Well, he's gonna be the closer for the Marlins, and someone needs to close games for the Marlins. I know that Brandon Kinsler right now is penciling as a starter, but Stanek is miles away better than him at this point. Why the Marlins want to go with that, with the older player with no strikeout potential, I have no idea. But that's why the Marlins are the Marlins, right?
It seems right, yeah.
I'm looking at the hitters to see if there's anybody that catches my eye. As you can tell, there's really nobody, and Stanek is right there available as predicted. But I'll work on I think I might draft a hitter at the end of this draft just to get a little bit of balance. And I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and it's over to you now.
Sheesh, coming up to me real quick. So at this point in the draft, you really want to just audit yourself. I've got actually 8 starters. One is Kopech, who I don't think will be on the roster opening day. So that's my NA guy. I'm okay going to battle with the 7 other guys. Fires and Hap, veterans, whatever. Odorizzi, Ray, Lamet, Hendrick, or Noah and Nola. Those are all guys who are going to get me a ton of strikeouts. So that my rotation is set. I don't need another starter. Sometimes less is more. You start throwing 8 or 9 starters every week, and 2 of them are going to bomb. That's going to kill your ERA and WHIP. So it's an organized chaos there.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone from 11th to 6th before in a really bad year by having 11 starters. I wouldn't suggest that as a thing to do if you can avoid it, but it can get you out of you sacrifice saves, but you're guaranteed strikeouts every week, and then kind of let the rest fall where it may. At this point, I'm kind of looking at an outfielder only because my outfielders also play other positions like Hampson and Santana. Again, we're pretending that I have J.D. Davis as my second outfielder, but this still makes my third outfielder a guy who plays other positions. So usually I would say at this point, just draft literally whoever is the next best player that you like. But in this case, I'm actually going to have a little strategy. I'm taking Hunter Renfroe with my last pick. He's, again, a 30-plus home run guy. You can pretty much mark that down.
You got
He's
one more,
on my bench. And
you got one more.
Yeah. Oh, I have one. Oh, yeah, you're right. Shit. All right. Well, I got Hunter Renfroe, so no worries there. I'm good now with my outfield depth. I've got 5 guys on the roster who can play it, and 2 of those guys can also play other places. So I'm like 6 ways to Sunday, great with my bench players. It allowed me to have Andujar as that utility guy who's also going to pick up position eligibility. I've got no one prepared for this spot. I don't think Chapman's getting hurt. You know what? I'm going to do something a little bit crazy. Here's an example, guys, of someone I'm going to drop within a week of my season starting, but I'm taking with my last pick, and I'm taking him as Jorge Alfaro of the Marlins. Now, the guy is a good bet. There's no denying that. You see his stats. They were mediocre. The only reason I'm taking him, I did this last year at Chirinos, is so Grandal can also play first base if he had to in a pinch. But Alfaro will not be on my team by the end of the year. I can guarantee it.
All right, so I'm gonna go with hitter. I'm still working on my queue here. There's some guys that I like, but there's a lot of guys that I don't like as well. Like I said, a lot of old heads. Austin Hayes is available. Maybe. Hey, where'd he go? I just had him up front. I just had him here. Where'd he go? Oh, I guess maybe somebody took him. Ian Happ's available. I'm sorry, what?
I said type him in.
Yeah, I'm gonna type him in right now. Was it going? Oh, Hayes, right. Oh, there he is. All right, so there's a nice list of 5 people. All right, you got Nate Lau, or is that Nate Lowe? I forget. Nate Lowe.
It's Lau.
Lau. Brandon Lowe, Nate Lau. Sean always corrects me.
Or I'm sorry, I think it's Nate Lowe and Brandon Lau.
Germans. All right,
yeah.
So Nick Solak, who's a highly regarded prospect out of Texas, I might just go with him, even though I already got a second and third baseman in Mike Moustakas, and I got a second and third baseman in Tommy Edman. So I could have gone at shortstop, but shortstop, that's it. It's over for shortstop at this point. Trent Grisham is a good outfielder, but you know what? I already got too many outfielders. Ian Happ, another second baseman, third baseman, outfield position guy. Yeah, I'll go with Nick Solak. Why not? 18 home runs, 9 stolen bases, 290 batting average is his projection. So let's look at the teams. Is Yahoo going to boot us out at this point?
It's going to boot us, but I think it'll email us the results. So maybe we can review it that way. I'm going to log into my email and see if that happens.
All right. I hope they send it to my, what do you call it? My Gmail account, not my Yahoo account. Because I didn't even know I had a Yahoo account. And that's it. The draft is over. I'm still in here, Vince.
Oh, yeah, we have 15 minutes, so we can finish it up here.
Yeah, so I'm still here. I'm wondering if I can go with a bigger screen. Can you go on a bigger screen? Can you check if you
I'm trying.
Yeah, because I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave if I have to.
You know what? If you go to draft results, I think you can change. Maybe not. Oh yeah, you could. Well, if you go to draft results and then you go to draft board, you can go to your spot and kind of go down the line.
Oh, okay.
So but it's not great.
I'll try that. Oh god, it's gonna make me start over. All right, so just for the sake of not killing any dead air here, or sorry, not have any dead air, we're just gonna use this little itty bitty screen here, and I got Carson Kelly, Pete Alonso, Mike Moustakas, Jose Ramirez at third, Trevor Story. I love my infield. It's a really good infield. Outfield's not as strong, but that's okay. What we lack in star power, we make up for with workmanlike workmanship. Redundancy much. Tommy Pham, who can steal bases. Jorge Soler, who can provide the power. Tommy Edman, who's gonna, as we mentioned earlier in the draft, is gonna play like a million positions. So there's my Swiss Army knife right there, and he's projected to steal 20 bases as well. Franmil Reyes, he supplies the power. He's been an electric bat ever since he came up with the Padres. I think that should continue with the Cleveland Indians. Brian Reynolds is my safe floor pick at my second utility spot, even though he plays with the Pirates. I got Luis Castillo, who I absolutely adore. Yeah. Lucas Giolito, who is one of my White Sox players there. Roberto Osuna, Ken Giles. They were traded for each other at one point. Now they're on my team. Hector Neris is my third relief pitcher, who I expect big things. One of the best split pitchers out there. Herman Marquez. I'm a little iffy, but when he's on, and he's always on fire when he's on. Jose Urquidy, who that's my upside pick. Dylan Bundy, who's my bounce back candidate. J.D. Davis, Dustin May, Dylan Cease, Ryan Stanek, who I think he's going to be the closer in Miami, and Nick Solak. So nice young floor and high upside mix there at my bench. I like my team a lot. I think I'm pretty satisfied with the way it is, and I expect to compete with that team if this was my real team. And how's that for a paradox? This is my real team.
Can't fault your team too much. I love Nick Solak with that last pick. He's got a great hitting profile, former Yankee prospect, which leads me to my first point. If you are a big fan of a team, do not fall in love with your own team. And I say this as a Yankee fan. Plenty of fantasy players on the Yankees. I ended up with actually 3 of them, so I'm being kind of hypocritical, but I didn't end up with them because they're Yankees. I ended up with them because I like their value, and that's the difference. So Yasmani Grandal, I mean, that's a catcher. I had him last year, championship team. That's a guy I'll go to war with. Just rock solid. He's going to give you decent catcher numbers across the board. Those are pretty elite. He plays 2 positions. He's in a good lineup, so all of those things he's got going for him. He's not too old. DJ LeMahieu, again, you don't need to have this much position flexibility, but it's a tiebreaker for me. DJ, he's going to give me great batting average. He's going to give me a little bit of everything else. He'll be a lead in runs scored. He's going to bat leadoff in the Yankee lineup. When Aaron Judge comes back, that's going to be even more tenfold. Gleyber Torres, I got over at second. I can play him at short. Doesn't really matter. He's a guy, again, he hit 38 home runs last year. He might – I agree with this. He won't hit as many home runs this year, but he might have even better numbers across the board. He's still 23 years old. 23 years old. Alex Bregman, that was my first-round pick – or my second-round pick. Not much to fault here. He's going to score a shitload of runs. Astros – lineup might be a little bit worse. We have no idea how the cheating is going to affect them, but he's still going to be, potential MVP, top 10. Maybe he'll be a top 10 MVP candidate instead of top 5. Who knows? Santana's not my starting shortstop, but this is the guy you want to have once you've got all your starters. This is a guy you can play anywhere. He's going to steal you bases, which is kind of a rarity in this league, in any league. He's going to not embarrass you anywhere else. Trout, obviously my first-round pick, nothing to say there. Hampson will steal me some bases. That's a guy who could have a lot of value by the end of the year. Renfroe is going to hit me a lot of home runs. So, these are all guys you're not playing necessarily. Hampson and Renfroe, you're not playing every day, but if you fill them in, they might get you a stolen base and a home run here and there. Suarez can't go wrong. He's been rock solid now for 3 years. That's a guy that I can plug in to move Bregman over to short, to move Glaber over to second, to move DJ over to first. A lot of
Shoulder injury doesn't bother you, Vince?
What's that?
The shoulder injury doesn't bother you? It
For
bothers me.
Suarez, no. I mean, he was banged up last year. The thing that actually bothers me the most about him is he struck out a shitload last year. I'm worried that that's the start of a trend. But, I'm okay with Suarez there, mainly because I've got all of the other depth as well. I mean, this is a dude who has upside of 30, 40 home runs, so I'm not going to question it too much. Versus Hoskins, just reinforcing my offense. That's the guy who could probably pick up where Suarez left off if Suarez is out for an extended period of time or doesn't put up the numbers. We're pretending this is J.D. Davis or Alex Verdugo. We'll say Verdugo since Felipe has J.D. Davis. Instead of 30-something home runs, it's 20-something home runs, higher batting average, injury-prone because he's Verdugo, but he's in that Red Sox lineup. We've got Miguel Andujar. He's going to pick up the position eligibility later on. It's the same thing sometimes as you draft a starter who's going to be a reliever, stuff like that happens throughout fantasy. Andujar could have a huge year as long as he's staying healthy. Alfaro, again, he's my sacrificial lamb last pick. Great to have catcher depth if you can find it. Probably not going to be there in the end, but for now, it frees up Grandal to play first base. Now on to my pitching. I've got Nolan Syndergaard. They're going to get you – last year, even in a down year for both of them, they still would have gotten me 431 strikeouts between the two of them. I'll take that any day of the week. I've got Hendricks and Leclerc as my relievers. Both are rock solid, both on solid teams, both going to get me the saves. No complaints there. Both still have upside. Lamet, this is a guy who's going to get me another 200-something strikeouts. I'm looking at over 600, close to 650 strikeouts between my top three starters. The trend continues with Robbie Ray. And then Odorizzi, not elite in strikeouts, but he's not going to embarrass me either. He's just rock solid on a rock solid team and a rock solid ballpark for pitching and a rock solid veteran. And then I start to get a little bit riskier. I've got Kopech. He's my huge ace in the hole. He's going to start on my NA spot if you have one. And then I've got Happ and Fires, the two veterans. Look, nothing sexy. You got a high 3 ERA and you've got a low 4 ERA. And as you can see, they agree with me. Happ's going to have a much better season in the ERA department. They're not going to get you a ton of strikeouts, but they're going to be good enough where they're probably not giving up 8 earned runs at any point. They might just have starts here and there that are five innings, 4 runs or whatever the case. That's not going to kill you when you've got a really strong top of the rotation. So I'm pretty happy with my team. My last pick, kind of a throwaway in my mind. Obviously, I made the mistake with Davis. I wouldn't make that in real life. But for the most part, pretty balanced. I've got a lot of strikeouts. I've got a lot of kind of surplus in these categories, and I'm pretty content with it.
Yeah, I just realized what you were talking about with the, what do you call it, the draft results. I just saw what you mean, and I'm just going to share my team in the same format that you just shared it. But I'm not gonna go. Yeah. I'm not gonna go over it like you did because I think I did already. But these are my hitters. Something I noticed is that I got 4 guys who are gonna steal over 20 bases, which again, that's not by design. That's just
you did the sprinkle effect. I think it would work well.
Yeah. So basically, Felipe just thinking about war as opposed to just separate categories. These are the guys who I think about as good all-around players and not just, well, this guy can get me stolen bases and this guy can get me home runs. I mean, I do, but at the same time, I just want to know who among these players is going to be giving me the most bang for my buck, who's going to be padding as many stats as possible, right? So, I mean, that's why I kind of like the idea of getting a Brian Reynolds on my team. I know it doesn't look too good right now, but, I mean, 94 runs out of a Pirates team, I mean, that's not too shabby right there.
2 things I really love about your lineup. One is that you've got 6 guys. And look, projections aren't everything. It's obviously, it's easy to win fantasy if you know exactly what's going to happen. But you've got 6 guys who are projected to hit you 30-plus home runs. And usually that is met with sacrificing somewhere else like batting average. But look at your batting averages.
Yeah.
Your worst batting average is 257 in the projections. That's really strong because the league average is 240-something. So everyone's going to hit above average, and you've got a lot of power there.
And again, that wasn't prefabricated or preconceived. That's just me. And this is you're talking about a guy who makes fun of other people for citing batting average, unless it's for fantasy baseball purposes.
Yeah, then you have to.
But I don't though. I my thing is on base percentage. Which of these players is going to get on base? It just so happens that these guys have high batting average. Honestly, I didn't even look at batting average when I was like trying to figure out who I should draft. I was just looking at, okay, who is the best all-around player? And it just so happened that the lowest batting average is 257 with Mike Moustakas, but that wasn't going to deter me from getting Mike Moustakas across any fantasy format because I am in love with the guy.
If you did want to go the analytics route, though, Felipe, I mean, look at your team outside of Franny Reyes. Who's a huge strikeout cog there? Like no one.
Yeah, I mean maybe Soler, but I think Soler. Yeah, I think he's like in the low 20% strikeout rate, and that's all mental right there. That's something that Sean and I talk about all the time. That if that's why I picture like, you know, guys on the Mets who I really like. It's like Conforto, Nemo. Those are guys who are patient, almost too patient. But it's like, you know, it's just back in my head that, okay, well, this guy's going to strike out this much, but he's also going to walk this much as well. And eventually all those walks are just going to maybe take the strikeouts a little lower. So that's my thought process. And I mean, that's a good point that you make, because that is something I have in the back of my head is who can I trust that will limit my strikeouts, right? So that's my hitting lineup. I hope you guys like it. And my pitchers, I mean, it's not as sexy as Vince's. I only got two guys who are projected to get over 200 strikeouts because I did take a risk taking these three closers here. But as you guys can tell, bonanza right there. I don't know if that's going to be enough to win me the saves title, but it should be good enough, especially with this guy right here. If this guy gets Ryan Stanek, if he gets to be the closer for the crappy Miami Marlins team, because somebody has to close games for them, that's a wild card right there. I mean, he can really get my saves category way up there, like in this number 2, number 3 spots, especially in 5x5 formats. And a little concerned about the WHIP and the ERA, but this is why you get a Ryan Stanek, because of that potential to be up here with these guys right here, the Osunas, the Giles, and the Narises of the world. But again, my starting pitching could it have been a little bit better? Because I look at yours and I'm like, wow, I missed the boat on this one. But there is a little bit of upside, not the greatest upside, just enough where I'm like comfortable, where like I can trust that Jose Urquidy and his 1.08 WHIP. Again, projections, and it's basically mostly based because he part-time stuff that he did last year. But I'll take my chances with that. I like that. We talked about Herman Marquez before. Rocky pitching in Colorado against not pitching in Colorado. Dylan Bundy. I mean, 14 wins. Again, I wasn't even looking at that. I didn't know that he was projected to win 14.
Don't draft for wins.
That is insane. But this is why I drafted him. 193 strikeouts versus 198 innings. That's not too bad for at this late in the game of the draft. And he's still, he's going to go to a better pitching situation in Los Angeles. Low WHIP for a guy who just used to get murdered out of the AL East. I'm pretty sure he's going to benefit from being out of the East Coast. And
like just moving out of the AL East, he should have better numbers. And then you couple it with the fact he's not going to pitch for the Orioles in particular, and he's going to have even better numbers than that. So I've got no hate for anyone who wants to take Bundy where you took him.
Yeah, and we talked about Dustin May, Dylan Cease, high upside guys. I don't know what to expect. I think Dylan Cease should be a little bit better than these rate stats show. But this is why you drafted him so late, or why I drafted him so late, is for the upside. He could bust out. He's listed as the number 5 starter for the White Sox. End of the year, he could be as good as the number 3, starting pitcher for the White Sox. And that's a chance I'm willing to take on a guy who was like a top 50 prospect at one point. And again, we talked about Dustin May, who also qualifies as relief pitcher. I don't know if he's going to get any saves, but like Vince mentioned, between Dustin May and Dylan Cease, I might have one good starting pitcher. That's some Moneyball shit right there. So, and besides, I mean, you mentioned some of the guys that the Dodgers have. They're all injury prone. Alex Wood is injury prone. Julio Urias is injury prone. David Price, I don't know what the hell's wrong with him or what his deal is. I don't trust him.
Yeah.
You know who do I trust? Dustin May. So yeah, I like that. And we got 20 seconds. And I think that's pretty much it. I already covered my team twice. I just wanted to show people in a bigger screen what my team looks like. And I guess we could put that one to rest. Final thoughts, Vince Mercandetti, on this mock draft experience that we just did right now.
I mean, I hope people learned something. If you have any questions, I would say, Felipe, you think you could post these probably not, but if you can post these rosters, we could start a dialogue as far as people, if they have any questions. Otherwise, I think we both did pretty well given the circumstances we were working on, which was having to navigate between Facebook and Yahoo and talking and everything else. But yeah, I mean, good draft. Like I said, what I would reiterate, my final thought is draft to your settings and draft with a strategy. You're building your team. Some people do best available every single time, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that because that's their strategy. But I like to kind of have an identity, if you will, about my offense and my pitching. So that's what I try and steer myself towards. But of course, it's within reason.
And and my weakness is not being able to kind of extrapolate my strategy because it's seat of my pants. Just whatever I'm feeling. It's a very emotional roller coaster, but it's also like kind of like I take what you guys give me. You guys are gonna not give me Jesus Luzardo. That's fine. I ended up with what's his face? Oh shit, I forgot his name. But you know what I'm talking about is at that point in the draft where Luzardo got picked. I'm like, okay, well I'll just get Tommy Pham, for example. It wasn't Tommy Pham. It was somebody else.
Yeah,
that's gonna kill me. But yeah, and again, it's years and years and years of doing this, 20 years, just like you, doing fantasy baseball. So some people, they want to get that nice breakdown. And I'm like, well, I got things in the back of my head that tell me, well, this guy's good, but I don't trust him because he has bad plate discipline. Well, where do you see that in the projections? Oh, it's in my head. I kind of just absorb these scouting reports, if you will, or these statistical breakdowns on these players because I've just been doing it all winter long. And again, the last 2 or 3 years I've been doing it this way, and I really get in depth. So that's my one weakness is I wish I had a way to kind of put in a nice little box and a nice ribbon for people to figure out, oh, okay, this is what Felipe is talking about. This is what Felipe does. Because I can't do it. Mario does a really good job of breaking this stuff down. So I'm hoping to have him on Monday for the Total Basis podcast when Sean and I break down our slow draft that we had last week. He does a really good job of kind of dumbing it down, especially for people who have never done it before. So I urge you guys to listen to that episode if you guys are still on the fence of doing a fantasy baseball league this year. And that's the thing that we were trying to encourage all offseason, Sean and I, is if you've never done fantasy baseball, please, by all means, join a league, get a couple of friends together. I know that people are like, well, when are you guys going to do a fantasy baseball league? I'm already at my max. Vince, are you at your max? Are you willing to do a league for other people where you can see?
No.
We're at our max. Sorry, guys. Wish we could
130 team dynasty and one friends league. That's all I can do at this point.
Yeah, same. I've been in one league for 20 years, and then I'm doing the one with Sean where he's helping me commission over at Fantrax, and that one needs a lot of babysitting from him and I. And but don't let the lack of me and Vince or Sean or Henry or the other admins, don't let that stop you from not joining one. Just go ahead. I know there's a lot of newbies out there who've never done it before. Just get together and just start a league. I mean, you just saw us at Yahoo. You could go on ESPN. You can go at CBS. You can go. There's a million websites out there for you to join. Just go ahead and take that leap of faith. And you saw Vince and I just do it. I don't know about you, Vince, but I had a lot of fun doing that. Even though it was not a real team, it was a mock. I had a blast doing it with you right now. So
I could mock draft all day long.
And
starting right after NBA All-Star Weekend, I could mock draft as much as I need to, and then you get that satisfaction of the real draft. It's to the point where like my league won't even introduce keepers because we love the actual draft so much and don't want to sacrifice any of it. Even though keepers can be fun too, but I would suggest doing exactly what Felipe and I just did today, which is starting a standard league on Yahoo. It's the best platform in my opinion. And just get your feet wet for a few years. If you want to start introducing money or want to, start getting a league with your friends, or you want to do keepers, or you want to do a dynasty, or you want to do Fantrax, which is like the most extreme probably of any of the platforms, then you can do that down the line, but start somewhere. It sounds intimidating because you have to set your rosters every day, but you can do a weekly setting roster league. Mm-hmm. Or not, but either way, it's a ton of fun, and it gets you more engaged to baseball and paying attention to other teams and figuring out what their players are doing. So it's really fun all the way around.
And to piggyback of what you just said about the daily league, if the daily stuff intimidates you, back in my day, we had to be on our computer either at work or at home or wherever and set our lineups. Nowadays, these apps are just absolutely killer.
Yeah,
I mean,
right from your phone.
everybody has a smartphone now. I mean, I have mine right here. Just download the app and set your lineup every day. If you want to do a daily league, because I know there's people like, well, it's not fair. What if somebody gets hurt and it's a weekly league, and what do I do then? Okay, well, if you're concerned, get in a daily league. Well, I don't have time to monitor it. Yeah, you're on your phone anyway. You're on your cell phone anyway. Just get on the app. I mean, I personally only do weekly leagues, or in the Fantrax league, I'm doing a semi-weekly league.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I don't do daily leagues. But if you are one of those guys or one of those gals who insist on just being micromanaging everything and every day and trying to get that sneaky pick for that day, like, there's an app for you for that. So don't let that intimidate you. And you can set your lineup for future lineups as well, for future days as well, I should say. So there's a lot of options out there, like Vince just mentioned. So just go out there and just do it. If you can't get anybody in this group to do it, just join a public league. It's a crapshoot, but it's a great way to learn, and it's a good what do you call it? A good starter set, because you don't have to worry about the setting up the league settings. You just go with whatever the setting has already been prefabricated out of. Just go with that. I mean, it's not that hard. It's not that difficult. And like you said, like I mentioned before, Vince and I had a blast doing this, and it's as fun as we are making it sound to be. So with that being said, Vince, thank you so much for coming on such relatively short notice. I mean, I think you had enough time to realize that you were going to be on tonight or this morning. Thanks to everybody for watching. Vince, any last words from you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on. And you can catch Felipe Monday, and we will be back on Dong City on March 16th, 6:30 p.m. Eastern.
All right. You heard it here first. Take care, guys. We'll see you soon.
See ya.
That's fun. That was a lot of fun. So I gotta stop recording.